I'm Miles. I got the chance to talk to Rachel Wang, founder of Evoke Creatives, as well as one of Corporate Knights' top 30 under 30 sustainability leaders of 2019, about her work. Here's our conversation. From your own personal experience, I want to get a sense of what you think people most widely recognize you for with regards to your leadership and change making experience.
I think it really depends on which group you're talking to or which person. For a long time, I've been working for the World Wildlife Fund for around 6 years, and so a lot of people in the environmental space would see me as that, and working in oceans conservation with the World Wildlife Fund. I'd say within the past year or so, it's shifted a little bit as I've sort of entered into this magical space of social entrepreneurship where it's just a really interesting dynamic between people. You meet different networks, and I think in that space I'm more known for Evoke Creatives and the initiative that I started within the past year. But yeah, it really depends on who you're talking to.
So, that being said, if you had to put a finger on who you would consider your people to be, um, who are they?
You cannot do any of this alone, and your successes are not your own either. So I would say from the beginning of this journey, I'd have to give credit to the York Entrepreneurship Development Institute, or they call themselves Yeti. It's a free accelerator for both for profits and nonprofits, and so that was kind of the first step into Evo Creatives, that I was able to really think through business plan, get that mentorship around finance, around HR, and all these other pieces that you wouldn't think would be needed. But it was all kind of encapsulated into the 16-week program, and it was really incredible. And then from there, I joined the School for Social Entrepreneurs, which I met some and continue to meet some incredible people, incredible change makers. And I would say Marjorie Brands is a mentor of mine for sure. She's a people connector. She's brilliant, and she continues to support all the social entrepreneurs that come through that program. And that program specifically that I took was called Select, and it's focused around climate from a lens that's a little bit less traditional than the climate solutions that you would think of in terms of like renewable energy. It's more around what the community or the community or group that people are coming from, what would work best there. And so you get a lot of arts projects, including mine, and a huge range of different initiatives and um, sort of projects that come through that school. And then from there, I also joined the Active Citizens program, which is hosted by the United Nations Association in Canada and the British Council. And it's all about active citizenship, and you there meet some really, really amazing change makers. And I've gotten many friends from that program as well. And since taking that program, we've gotten the opportunity to pitch. We went to Parliament Hill, where we're all able to pitch our idea, our social enterprise, and have a panel of judges that were able to give us feedback, really helpful in sort of making sure that social enterprise is successful. And one of the panelists there, I continue to touch base with Joanna Reynolds she works at the Center for Social Innovation in Toronto, and she's based in Kingston and Toronto, but she's been an incredible person to bounce ideas off of, extremely grounded considering all the accomplishments that she's had. And so, sorry, I'm going on and on. There's so many people.
If you had to take away the names from these people and kind of just categorize who these people are from a characteristic standpoint.
Well, I guess to better answer your original question is the team that's behind Evoke Creative. So less so the mentorship from for me personally. There are a few members on the team that really embody the vision of Evoke, which is essentially that intersection between the arts, specifically hip hop music, and the environmental movement. And so by looking at those people, you would say, oh yeah, those are Rachel's people for sure, because they really live it. That's the first, and the second, their professional work in their workplace is specialized, but also very valuable to Evoke creatives. For example, um, marketing may not be directly related or sort of thought of as being in the environmental field, but it's a really crucial part of any social enterprise, any business, and in the environmental sector. As we have this huge problem of communicating environmental issues, marketing becomes really important. Similarly, another person on the team, he specializes in waste, and waste is a huge issue, especially in Toronto or everywhere, but particularly in Toronto where we're living now, in trying to address this. And he brings that expertise too, from his past experiences. And so yeah, the team for sure definitely plays that really cool intersection of the arts, and loving the live music scene in Toronto, wanting to make it more eco-friendly, um, but also having their own expertise and speciality that they bring to the team.
You use the phrase that the team at Evoke lives it. So what does
Mm.
living it look like?
Yeah, living it is it's the state of mind, or rather the approach that they take to environmentalism, which is one, they are not judgmental as a lot of environmentalists can be. It's a lot of empathy and just seeking to understand the way people live and why, and then try to identify solutions to make it more sustainable. Because if somebody, for example, I have a lot of friends that the environment is not on their is on the forefront of their minds. And that totally makes sense because I understand other things that they're going through. And so if they have, a 24 pack of plastic water bottles in their kitchen, I don't immediately just shame them and judge them. It's about understanding why. Maybe it's routine, maybe it's the quality of tap water, maybe it's a lot of different things that then exacerbate where the environmental justice issues lie. And so it's really for living it, it's about doing the best that you can and respecting where everyone else is on their journey, and helping them where they are, and not forcing things upon them, and really understanding where they're coming from and finding a solution that actually works within their lived reality.
And now I want to get a sense of what you consider to be your one or two core values that, at the very least, you can say that you try to live up to on a daily basis.
One of the main values that I actually took from that long journey that I was describing to you is this idea of unlearning and checking your unconscious biases, because it's actually quite fascinating when you do it to yourself. Because when you're not so quick to react and you kind of take a second to understand how you're thinking, why you're thinking in this way, it's a really cool reflective process that can get to the core systemic um, sort of issues of our society and our institutions, and how we're almost products of our society, and how those manifest through our actions and the way we think, the way we behave. And if we are constantly consciously unlearning and relearning, then we're able to remove some of those unconscious biases. And when those are removed, then you're able to have a much clearer lens around what solutions may exist, how you can collaborate better with other people, other groups. And so, yeah, that would be one of the values for sure. I think I try to live by every day. It's hard. It's very hard. Um, Second value, I think just being optimistic and finding fun in it all. I The reason why Evo Creatives is so important to me is because it really recognizes the role of music, of all these different experiences that evoke really positive, happy emotions that um, are very powerful. And for me, when you're the reason why I watch sitcoms is because I want to laugh. I want to be in a good mood. And so I wouldn't go to a UN report on climate change when I feel like I want to be in a better mood. I would want to watch a TV show. And so when we think about how humans respond to different situations, we can begin to see how much media culture plays a role in how we consume knowledge without us even knowing it. So a lot of unconscious biases we actually get from TV, film, music, and so on. So if we can use these platforms to re-educate and remix things a little bit, then that could be a way to build knowledge and build more environmental literacy in our communities.
How exactly would someone else be able to look at you and look at the work that you do without talking to you and be able to understand that those are the values that you hold closest to you?
I would say through experiential learning would be probably the main one. If we're thinking about the events that we host or the events that we collaborate on, it's always a built is built around fun, engaging content, and this idea of edutainment. So edutainment is essentially education, um, or entertainment with an educational aspect, and that can extend to Bill Nye the Science Guy, or Outdoors and Convenient Truth, or live music. And so for us, it's more so around music and live music. And so when you come into a space that has artists performing, yet everything around you is environmentally friendly or sustainable or zero waste, it's it's that feeling that you're not being judged in that space. It's not overtly telling you to do anything. It's just everything around you is sustainable, and at the same time, you're having fun with um, entertainment being presented on stage. And so, hopefully, through those kind of events, we can begin to sort of target a different demographics to bring them more into the environmental movement through like I mentioned, having more of an empathy based approach, and building things around positivity and entertainment, I guess.
So, my next question for you, I want to get a sense of the kind of future that you want to make in the world, let's say by this time next year at the end of 2020, as well as what role you see yourself playing in creating that future.
So I would say one of the main goals that Evoke creatives ultimately would like to achieve beyond the music and the entertainment part of it, and making the live music seem more sustainable. One of our core goals is to bring more racialized youth into the environmental movement and bring them to the front lines of the environmental movement. And that's because even through, the corporate nights, it was, 60% non-colored people. So it's something that the environmental movement still has a lot to work on. And even working in a large environmental organization, I constantly see that I am not in the majority. And because Toronto, where people of color are, more than 50% of the population, it's actually not representative of the community that we live in. So that's one of the goals that me personally I would like to achieve through Evoke Creatives, by providing more employment opportunities for specifically racialized youth. And I guess my role within that is by building business models that are financially sustainable, so that we are able to pay at um, fair prices. We're able to hire and pay fair wages. And that is the role that I see myself in Evoke playing.
Where do you personally see yourself, let's say 5 years down the line?
It's unpredictable. This is what I've learned in this past year of social enterprise. It takes a it's an iterative process that takes you on turns, and has a lot of barriers that you have to navigate. And so I think it's hard for me to predict where we'll be, or where I will be. But I think it'll be somewhere along the lines of making the live music industry in Toronto more sustainable. And that's coming from the foundation that Toronto is being cultivated as a music city. And so there is dedicated funds from provincial government to build it as such. And as that's being built, we need to align that with the environmental goals that the city has and making sure that they're not growing in silos and they're intersecting to make sure that they're both um, being considered across the board, so that the greenhouse gas reductions are being met through the live music industry. They're going plastic free. They're having zero waste bars and making sure to recycle all of their bottles and cans back to the Ontario Deposit System program. It's a whole slew of areas that the live music industry needs to consider while it grows.
I want to know if that you can pinpoint any specific content that uh, you found truly pivotal to your journey in sustainability.
There's quite a number. So my pivot into sustainability was came a bit later than a lot of other people, I think. And it came from when I was living in the South Pacific and I was still working for the World Wildlife Fund. But I realized that the conservation efforts were very different there than they were back home. And the urgency, especially in these Pacific Island states, the urgency is so much higher and more immediate than back at home. And by experiencing it firsthand, it changed my whole idea of what sustainability was and what it should be, and how Canada has a role in supporting these small island developing states.